Alright, so the Phantom Nightmare format is coming, and here are top 5 cards you have to play to dominate the next meta. Like the video if you enjoy it, and also share your thoughts in the comments down below about cards that you come up with that we have to include in our main and side decks. So let's jump right into it. The first card I wanted to talk about is actually Ultimate Slayer. It's a little specific, I get that. Not every single deck is able to run it, but still, if you're dedicated to running it and you have the space to do it, I think it's going to be a really, really good card moving forward. There are a lot of insane targets for Ultimate Slayer, so you're able to counter pretty much everything. So let's quickly go through it. Your opponent obviously cannot activate monster effects in response to the activation. You send one monster from your extra deck to the grave, target one monster your opponent controls, either Fusion, Synchro, Xyz, Pendulum, or Link, shuffle it into the deck. And obviously your targets have secondary effects that can deal with the almost entirety of the board. What we need to consider is Fire Kings are going to be insane, as well as Rescue Ace. There's going to be Labyrinth out there. No branded strategy was hit, so there's Chimera, there's regular branded, and you're also going to maybe be facing Synchro decks as well. So let's talk about some targets. The Enigmaster Pagbit from Phantom Nightmare has a good effect when it's sent to the graveyard. You basically get to remove your opponent's monster. You can target one monster in your grave or one face-up monster your opponent controls. Usually you're going to be dealing with their stuff. Discard one card, and if you do, you place it in the owner's spell and trap card zone. So it's a very unique and original way of removal if you find yourself in a situation where you have to deal with a Synchro monster. Now, Links are obviously the main ones, and we're going to have to be dealing with, boards that usually consist of Link monsters, especially in the case of Fire King. Now, there's obviously the fact that your opponent is going to have more stuff. Fire King has a lot of layered interruption, so this is just one of the cards that seems like it's okay against that deck because it's going to depend on what they go for. They're going to be ending usually on Amblewail as well as IP, so you're going to be able to deal with either, but you have to keep in mind that their IP is, like, for the time being, it's going to be in the spell and trap card zone, and then they decide when they want to bring it out with Flamberge Dragon. So essentially, when it's out, you can try and deal with it. And obviously, Link monsters are nice against Rescue Ace as well. So you have the Bucephalus, which, if it's sent to the grave, you can send one Beast, Beast Warrior, or Winged Beast monster from your extra deck to the graveyard. So what you're going to be able to send is Garura if you want to have a draw. And you might already play Garura because you can see Super Polymerization over here. We're going to be talking about that card as well. Now, also, if you are running this and you're maybe like playing any version with also the Shuraig, you can send Shuraig, and you can also search a Beast, Beast Warrior, or Winged Beast, depending on the number of monsters you have banished. And this is obviously applicable if you're going to be running Fire King with this package. Now, in my opinion, the optimal way to play it is obviously how OCG is running it, so with Populous, Bonfire, Sinful Spoils, all of that, but I get that this is not like that budget friendly, so if you want to run a cheaper version, this is what you can do, and you can also get to your resources if you decide to run those two cards as your basically targets for links for Ultimate Slayer, or if you already run them and include Ultimate Slayer. Then we also have Evo Twins Trouble Sunny, which obviously has to incorporate the brick, which is not ideal, but this was the way to deal with Link monsters. So once it's in the graveyard, you're going to be able to send an Evo Twin monster from your hand, deck, or face-up field to the grave, and send one card on the field to the graveyard. And you also have to banish Trouble Sunny from the grave. So again, there's more removal out there for you, and obviously Entis is there if you want to deal with fusions, because they're also going to be present in the meta. So in my opinion, Ultimate Slayer is not bad at all if you have the space. Now, I already mentioned Super Polymerization. I guess let's go over that as well. If you've been looking at OCG at all, they're running Super Polymerization in most of their decks actually, because they have really good targets for their meta, which is going to be our meta as well. So usually you're going to want to deal with IP. This is big. SP as well. And naturally, you have your basic targets like Garura for two monsters with the same type and attribute but different names. This is applicable in Rescue Ace, as well as Fire King. And other random decks as well. We still need to keep in mind that the meta is going to be fairly diverse moving forward still. And then we also have Mud Dragon if you're in the need of that. And also the Draco Exquisite, which is 1 Dragon Synchro Monster plus 1 warrior monster. Like if you find yourself in a situation where you're dealing with SP as well as like Despotted or something along those lines. And yeah, then we also have the Gyoti Gearfried, which is 2 warrior monsters with different attributes. Again, there's SP and also Baron, if that's something your opponent is playing. And also one of the most popular ones is actually the Earth Golem Adignister, because it is using 1 Cyberse monster plus 1 Link monster. So your Cyberse is going to be the... let me find it. The Heat Soul, if your opponent is ending on that, and then IP comes into play as well. So for the most part, these two are more specific, and OCG is running Garura as well as Mud Dragon and Earth Golem. So you can look into that if you want, and like obviously there's a lot of decks in the meta, so you know, you can decide for yourself. Now, let's talk about Evenly Matched. I think Evenly Matched is nice because a lot of decks moving forward are going to put up just a lot of resources on the board. If you look at Rescue Ace, it's already been said, like, Evenly Matched is nice against that deck. It's a little weird, is how I would call it, because they can try and play through it, but it's going to depend on what your opponent does, how prepared they are for Evenly Matched. If you're up against a good Rescue Ace player, they're probably gonna keep in mind that Evenly Matched is a thing, so they might sort of make their board like according to that. If they make SP, they're going to be able to tag out, keep at least one thing. If they have emergency, they're going to special summon out Preventer, get rid of the Preventer, summon something from the banish pile, like on the following chain, and then they have like a trap life that they maybe leave face down, but you're getting rid of everything they have, which means you're not going to be able to shuffle back your stuff with Headquarters if you're the Rescue Ace player, and that's amazing. Against Fire King also, they put up a lot of stuff because you're going to be effectively banishing their field spell, their sanctuary, at least 2 monsters or something. Maybe they set the quick play spell, which I forgot the name of, so the Skyburn. And again, you're basically forcing them to get rid of cards. Also, now that we are added here, searching stuff on DB, I also wanted to talk about the Metalogic Aggregator, which is basically another target for Ultimate Slayer, being an XYZ monster, because we're gonna have Goblin Riders in the meta as well, and probably Purrely, unless like Goblin Riders completely annihilate Purrely. We're gonna see what happens with that, but if it's sent to the grave, you can target 1 face-up card on the field and negate its effects, so it's also a very decent effect. Now, okay, this video is a little all over the place, but let's jump back to Evenly Matched. So yeah, against, I already mentioned Purrely, you're going to be able to, again, deal with all of their cards. And you also need to keep in mind with Fire King field spells, so the island, if it gets banished, it's not going to be able to trigger. So it says destroy all monsters you control if it gets sent to the graveyard or banished, but because it's going to get banished face down, Evenly is not going to work to deal with their board. And also like what's it called, Fenrir and stuff like that, they do not trigger island because it's face down. So keep that in mind. Please don't get cheated, or don't cheat. Also, Evenly Matched against Labyrinth, fairly self-explanatory, and I just think it's generic enough to justify including it, because you're going to find yourself in matchups where it's going to be useful probably. So yeah, I think Evenly Matched is going to be nice, and also OCG is playing it, so there's that. Now I want to talk about Gravekeeper's Inscription as well. This card has been the talk lately, I feel like, because it's really good against Fire Kings. It was nice against Tearlament, and it's just a little, not a little, it's very niche actually. So not every single deck is going to be able to incorporate it, but neither player can activate card effects in the graveyard. It lasts for 2 turns, and your Fire King opponent actually does a lot during your turn as well. So yeah, you're stopping them pretty much completely, and I don't know, I think the card is really nice. It's just that it's weird because not every single strategy is actually able to run it. But keep that in mind if you play that kind of deck where you don't really care about your stuff in the graveyard. And then for the last card, I want to talk about Cosmic Cyclone. I think it's not exactly a secret sauce type card. I think it's very self-explanatory and obvious. And again, I'm going to refer to the OCG. If you have been looking at any deck list, there is probably not a single deck list without the Cosmic Cyclone. It's actually insane. So it being a quick play spell card, it's gonna be able to prevent so many things. And we also need to like look at our meta where we have Centurion on the rise, which also like with Centurion, Ultimate Slayer might come into play. Not to prevent Calamity though, but yeah, you know, at least something. You're gonna be able to do at least something. And with Cosmic Cyclone, you want to prevent their field spell effect from going off. It's nice against the Runic field spell. It's really nice against Fire King Sanctuary, so they don't quick Xyz during your turn. It's just nice overall as back row removal. And against Labyrinth especially, you want to banish their stuff because they're just going to recycle them anyway. If you leave their welcomes in the graveyard, their big welcomes have second effects in the graveyard, so there is that. And yeah, like, I feel like Cosmic Cyclone is just insane, actually. And I've also found myself using it, maybe because my side deck just wasn't complete, but when I was testing, I would sometimes put it in against Fire Kings, even going first if I didn't have anything better to side, because in theory, if they hand trap you, if they stop you or whatever, and they can like they just go off, you want to deal with their field spell as soon as possible, ash it, banish it, whatever. And post Phantom Nightmare obviously is going to be a little harder because they have much more for the deck, a lot of support and a lot of cards. But yeah, it's really nice against that deck. And sometimes, like, yeah, they want to get their stuff destroyed, but if you get rid of their field spell and they're not in the perfect spot, if they have like random link monsters or whatever, and you just clear their entire board, they maybe won't be able to recover. So that's something to keep in mind. And yeah, that's pretty much going to be it. I feel like all of these cards are going to be useful, not in every single deck, but you know, I just wanted to throw the ideas out there because it really does depend on what you play and what your personal meta is. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, like it, make sure you are subbed and ding the bell so you are notified when I post, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye.